Hello, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Jacob, your host, and welcome back to Dressed Rehearsal, the podcast where Broadway meets fashion and we discuss personal style and the roles that shape us on stage and off. I truly could not say enough positive things about today's conversation. It felt like we were just old friends. Today's guest, Cara Rose DiPietro, is a New York City-based actor and content creator. Cara has built a thriving social media community of over 300,000 followers, sharing her journey as a young artist navigating New York City. The start to Cara's social media growth feels like such a testament to her soul. And she tells the story of she was working a barista job right after moving to New York City. And on her lunch break, she posted a video on TikTok saying, I'm in my early 20s. These should be the best years of my life, and something's going to change today. She closed up her phone, walked away, and checked it a few hours later and had thousands upon thousands of follows, likes, comments of people that were ready to join her in her journey. And that story feels so true to exactly the type of care and authenticity that Kara brings to her little corner of the internet. Since graduating from Elon University with a degree in musical theater in 2021, Cara has established herself as a really beautiful performer both in theater and television. Beyond her acting career, Cara is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness within the performing arts. In 2024, she gave a TED Talk, The Confessions of a Recovering Theater Kid, which was recently featured as an editor's pick. She opens up about her personal experiences navigating mental health in the entertainment industry. She was truly the perfect guest because not only does she feel like TikTok's theater big sister, but she knows that fashion is such a playful and fun artistic expression. Cara is authentically committed to fostering transparency, vulnerability, and most importantly, joy. She has made it her mission to create positive change in the business wherever she goes. And I can't wait to keep cheering her on as she becomes the star we all already know that she is. And welcome, Cara Rose DiPietro, to the podcast. Cara, how are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so how we start every episode is how did you get bit by the theater bug?
Actually, my parents are both actors. They met studying theater in college. They both did it growing up, and they wanted to do other things. My mom wanted to be a teacher. My dad went on to study law, but they both were really fortunate that they went to a school where they were able to study both. So my parents both got dual degrees. My dad studied history and theater. My mom studied education and theater. And so because of that, when they had my brother and I, we were like raised on like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown and like Godspell and like Big River. Like those were like the soundtracks of our childhood. Big River's like the random one. It's like my dad's favorite show.
Sure.
Um, and so like it's literally been a part of my life since day one.
And
Um,
isn't it funny that like they did two things at once? Like they had theater and they had something else, and that's been so a part of your journey.
yes. And it's funny, it's something that until very recently I very much took for granted. Um, because I recently was at Illinois State, and it wasn't until this last year of my life that I began speaking to students in a way that I've like has taken me across the country, which is something I never anticipated. But when I went to Illinois State, almost every student there was a dual major in some form of education and theater.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like you guys, I was raised by two people who did this, and I can tell you about their lives and the things that they did and how this served them. Even my dad, who's like a lawyer, like my mom went on to like teach education and music, and that served her in her career. But my dad went on to study law, and it still impacted his life. So I so took it for granted that they were people who decided to honor their other passions. Um, but it is so funny, like now in my life, looking back, um, it is really funny how that kind of thing happens.
Right. And sometimes it feels like when you have blinders on, you're like, that's how I'm going to be successful. Like I have one direction. But the minute that like you take the detours, like at least I used to feel like the detours felt like a waste of time. And then once you realize like those detours are the key to the ladder and like anywhere you want to go, that's so freeing.
Yeah. It's something I still really struggle with. Like, it's something that I still have a hard time with. Like, I still feel like I'm like, oh, like, if I'm not doing something that doesn't serve my career, like if I'm not auditioning, if I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, if I'm not, like pursuing theater
Hmm.
or performance or acting, it's a waste of my time. Something I get really wrapped up in is like how other people perceive me. So I'm like, if I post something on social media that doesn't have to do with me being an actor, are people still going to see me that way? Um, but the other day, by as in like last night, I met a girl at the restaurant that I work at who's in the Coast Guard, and she's an actor as well. And it was like such a firm reminder because sometimes it takes us stepping out of ourselves and looking at someone else who's in our shoes from a different perspective to like really see our situation fully. And I was like, it's so cool to see. She was like, I'm in the Coast Guard. I'm in my senior year at the academy, but I'm also an actor. And I was like, it's so cool to meet someone else who's like multi-hyphenate.
Hmm.
Because I was like, somewhere down the line, like you are going to be afforded an opportunity in your performance career if that's something you want to pursue that only you will be able to do because of all of yourself that you served, because you decided that you didn't want to deny yourself like all of your passions, if that makes sense.
And people even say, like, with social media, it's like all about finding your niche, but that also feels like a way of boxing yourself in and typecasting yourself. And I'm curious if you felt that pressure of like, I need to intentionally find my corner, or it's like, let's just bring all of me to the table and then see what flies.
A little bit of yes and no. Something that one of the rules, especially when I was first building my platform, was if I wanted to post about it, I posted about it. Like
Mm.
that was kind of my rule. And so something that I always say to people is people care about you, you know? And something that I didn't realize that I did, that I'm really grateful that I did, but it was incredibly unintentional, is that I posted everything. I posted everything about my life. I didn't hold back. So,
Hmm.
like, I shared about my life as an actor, yes, and I posted about theater, but I also shared about like everything I loved. I shared about like my love for fashion. I shared about my lifestyle content. So I shared like get ready with me's and I shared about like grief and I shared about mental health and I shared about like every part of my life and not just one specific part of it. And from a creative perspective, that really helped me because it meant that like it meant that only one piece of content that I made wasn't the only thing to grow. So like whenever I post a video, it doesn't matter what it's about, it typically performs pretty well because my content centers around me. I am my own niche. It's
Hmm.
not theater, it's not my career. It's me. People like my content is about me. My community that I've built surrounds, me. And the community that I've built are people that like similar things and feel like-minded, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's hard when you build like a niche. And yes, it is strategically a good way to grow, but it also really does. It boxes you in and it limits the amount of opportunities that you provide yourself. So it's like you kind of have to like learn how to play the field.
Well, I even laugh like there's so many like core lifestyle influencers that were all former theater kids, and it's
All
like
of them.
they're
All of them went to French Woods. All of them have BFAs. Every last one of them. Like Dylan Mulvaney went to CCM.
right.
Um, Chris Olsen went to Boco. Like all of them, like even like every now and then I'll like meet someone in New York and I'll like connect with them, like an influencer, and then they drop a bomb about going to French Woods, and I'm like, I fucking knew it. Like, of course you did. Like,
And like it all adds up because it's like you have a personality for it. And when people are investing in you, and it's all storytelling anyway. So it's like, who's a storyteller? Former theater kids. And you mentioned grief is one of the things that you share a lot. And I'm curious, coming from a family that was so involved in your passion, like, is that something that like makes you feel more connected to your family? Like, how does that relationship evolve in your life?
yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because it's like I wouldn't be able to do the thing that I do if it wasn't for like my family. I always say that I started like all of my college essays with I was raised by a soprano and a tenor, which is
Wow.
true. And I think about it like I wouldn't be talking to you today. I wouldn't be able to do the thing that I do like if it weren't for like my father and my mom. And like for those of you who don't know who are listening to this, I lost my mom a little over 5 years ago, and like she's like the reason that I can sing the way that I do. She's one of the big reasons. And she's one of the, my parents are both the reason that I pursued what I did because they were so supportive of it, which is rare, because they knew, because they were both performers and they were actors and they knew what it took and they supported me, which isn't always super common,
Right. And
field.
I don't know if you got the chance to see Beau off Broadway with Matt Roden.
No!
Okay, so I saw it yesterday and it really made me think of today's conversation because essentially the premise of the show is like there's a boy in Nashville, Tennessee who finds out that he's a grandfather that like he thought was dead. And basically he goes for the summer, Matt Roden will like go live with his grandpa and his grandpa shows him like music and he's like the music will take care of you. And like
Oh,
once his spoiler alert, the show did close yesterday, so like I feel less bad about the spoiler alert. But like once his grandpa passes, like the music is like what he carries through. And I was like, what a beautiful gift.
what a
Also,
beautiful
just like
gift.
I think about this is like a little bit of a tangent, but like my grandma worked in the office that I work in now, like a bajillion years ago.
Up.
Yeah, so little aside, but she was like a secretary at 30 Rock, and she would like go up to the window when the Rockettes would get their like paycheck, and the guy would like say like, "Oh, are you here for the Rockettes?" Because we're both like tall, and she's like, "No, no, like I'm a secretary." Even just like walking like in the same path as her is like such a beautiful thing. Isn't that wild? And it's just like those things that like are yours and you can like carry with you, and it's just such a beautiful like gift, you know?
That's incredible. That's like, wow, what a special, like, full circle thing. Able to, like, literally walk in the same footsteps as someone who's, like, such a large part of you.
And I always think about like if our family members were our age, like would we be friends? And it's like when you have like a core thing in common, like that you all love, like yeah, no, duh, you would all be friends.
Yeah. I think about that. And it's always funny. Like, it's really funny. So I just moved. And when my mom passed, we cleared out her house and I found a tin. And it's of every almost every letter that she was sent in college by her high school friends, some of them for elementary school. I have like a piece of paper from eighth grade. I have her RA pin, like all the letters my grandma sent to her, and I have a box like that I saved. I had no idea that she saved all of those, and like I have something that is just like that. Um, and I was like kind of reading through some of them, which felt a little weird, but I was like reading through some of them, and because it was like felt like this insight into my mom that I never had when she was my age, when
Hmm.
she was our age, truly, because we're the same age.
Right.
Um, and it is so funny because it was one of those like, oh, like I think we would have been friends. Like I was reading things about her, and I was like, these are things that I feel like people like I've heard people say about me, or like these are things that I feel like, like it was things that I felt like, and especially when someone passes, but it's things that like you never got to ask them or you never got to say. And so when you hear them, it's like, oh, whoa, like I never would have known this, you know?
Right. And you never get to the age where you're able to like exchange those stories, and it's so interesting. And I'm curious your journey building your solo show, My Mother's Daughter at 54 Below, like how that also just like reignited that connection.
Yeah, it was definitely wild because I always knew what I wanted it to be about.
Hmm.
Um, and like I had the idea for a long time, and the woman who produced it, my friend Carly, like we always like knew what we were gonna do. We just didn't know when we wanted to do it. And I was always like, I never felt ready. I never felt ready until we felt ready. And it was very much one of those like, honest to God, we were sitting at a brunch, and I was like, it was the last two audition seasons kind of kicked my ass. And so the one before this last one that also kicked my ass, I was sitting at a brunch with her and I was just like kind of talking to her and I was feeling really defeated. And she was like, I think you need to do your solo show this year. I think we need to do it this year. And she had told me when I first met her, she was like, when you want to do that, let me know. Because she had produced a couple. And so she knew how to do them. She knew how they worked. And I was like, okay. And so we did it. And I always knew what I wanted it to be about. I knew there were a couple of songs that were like, I wanted to be a part of it. I had no idea where they fit. I
Hmm.
just knew I wanted them to be a part of it. And it's funny seeing how they fit into the show. It was not how I initially ever thought that they would be in it. Like, I Will Never Leave You. I always knew I wanted to be in the show. I did not anticipate it being in the show the way that it was. And like it's serving the purpose that it did. it had been in the playlist Super Secret Solo Show that I made 3 years ago. It had
Love.
just always been in there, you know? And so I was like, how am I gonna write about this? Like, I had a note in my phone. I always joke that I do my best work on the train. I do my best writing on the train, always on the A train home from work.
Sure.
And so I had this note in my phone that I still have, and it's basically just like a brain dump. And so I would write like, what do I want this show to be about? Because I had seen a lot of solo shows leading up to it. I had watched a lot, I had seen a lot. I'd gone to see a lot of solo shows, and I wanted people to like take something away from it. I wanted people to be able to like leave and take something from it. As I kind of do with all of my content, I really want it to mean something. And I also I'm very much someone who's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Hmm.
Like if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to really commit to it. So I saved up for a long time. And I put money aside because I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to really fucking do it. And so I really decided, I was like, great, I think we're going to kind of start from the beginning and we're going to introduce who my mom was. And we can talk about kind of grief in the way that I always have, which is not just the pretty side of it, but also the messy side. Because something that I've learned about grief through working with this camp called Experience Camps is like how we don't always know how to talk about it
Hmm.
because we're not always given permission to. And it's also because like we just don't know how to. Like we don't really know how to talk about grief. Especially people who don't experience a loss that is so impactful,
Hmm.
especially at like a young age, like we don't always know how to address it. And I know for me, I felt so much shame around my grief for so long because I didn't know I was allowed to grieve in whatever way. Like I didn't know what grief really looked like. And so I was like, great, I'm just gonna kind of be honest. And so I kind of pinpointed some of those moments in my life and I kind of rehashed those moments and it was a slow go and I spent months writing it and rewriting it and rewriting it and working with some of the most incredible women and musicians I have ever met in my life. And I was so fortunate in that sense. It felt very much like a full circle moment of people that I had met. My music director I had met at Summer Stock, the last summer stock that I ever worked at, the last place my mom ever saw me really perform, was the music director, the woman who music directed and arranged that incredible show. Like she made that show what it was. It wouldn't have been what it was without her. And like we were in the trenches of that summer stock together. She was in charge of the junior interns that summer, and I was sleeping in a bunk bed above the kitchen. And that week she like took over she's now the associate MD on Sticks. Like she conducts that show every night. Like and that week she started that, It
Hmm.
was like it felt so full circle to be able to like do that with her and with a room full of almost entirely women. Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild. It was bananas. It was bananas. And then I blacked out during the show itself.
Right.
Totally blacked out. Totally blacked
And I think something like for people who are supporting people through grief too is like reaching out, like you're never reminding people of what happened, like they know what happened. And so all
out.
you can do is be supportive. And this is like a wreck for you personally, but I don't know if you saw Stephanie J. Block's solo show about becoming a mother, but I think it might wreck you, like it might make you really emotional. But I saw it at the 92nd Street Y, and if she does it in New York again, like I need you to go because I think it'll like cure your soul. It's all about like her evolution, like with her relationship with her mother and then now having a daughter and like
Oh
what that's
my
meant to her.
gosh.
And also like just like theater people calling her mother. So like I think you would really appreciate it.
Oh, I would love that.
And then also with your 54 Below show, like I think it's such a testament to not waiting for someone to ask you to do something, but like creating opportunity for yourself and building
Yes.
something. And to think going back to like I Will Never Leave You, like singing with Laura Bell Bundy, original Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, if anyone doesn't know, like having an idol, I'm sure, like inspiring you and then like having that moment is so wild. And I'm curious, like, how you, one, fight imposter syndrome in those moments, and then two, like, just what that collaboration means to you.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely wasn't imposter syndrome until it was happening right then and there. And then I was just like looking at her and I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like I remember looking at her and being like, how on earth did we get here
Like,
right now?
what
Like,
in the manifestation happened here?
right. And I'm like in a room with like the people I grew up with. My high school best friends are at my feet and I'm singing this song with Laura, but like it was just kind of like, how did we get here? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, so I had met Laura Bell a couple of times leading up to this. And something that was really important to me when asking guests for this show, because it was the whole show was incredibly intentional. Nothing was, it was important to me that nothing was like passive. Everything was incredibly intentional. And we really took our time with it. And something that was important to me is that song specifically, I wanted to sing with a mom.
Mm,
I wanted to sing that song like with a mother. Like I didn't want to sing that song with just anyone. And I was really fortunate. All the times that I've connected with Laura Bell have been with her work with her nonprofit, Women of Tomorrow. She has this incredible nonprofit called Women of Tomorrow that basically like connects women, essentially connects women and creates opportunity for them and fights like hell for women in every single way. So like the first time that I worked with her, it was for a benefit concert to raise money for them. And the second time, it was for an event with the cottage where she brought together, I believe it was like a women's like sexual wellness company and and Women of Tomorrow, and they partnered together. My mom was a huge supporter of Planned Parenthood. She volunteered at a women's shelter. It was like a huge part of my mom's life was her dedication to, supporting women and doing so like kind of pretty much in secret. No one really knew that she did these things. One of the last things that she did before she passed, like 2 days before, that really only I knew about was like she she sent me a picture of a random baby in a stroller, and I was like, whose baby is this? Like, she worked with kids, and I was always like, whose baby is that? Like, where
right.
are you? What are you doing? And it was a woman on Facebook was asking, and our town Facebook was asking for donations. She was on her third kid. And so toys were really beat up. And so she was asking if anyone had any like gently used toy donations because she was on her third. And so my mom took her to Target and she furnished her nursery. And so it was like, but my mom didn't tell anyone that. Like I was the only one who knew, and she passed away 2 days later. Like it's like little things like that. Like that was kind of the woman who my mom was. And so when I was picking guests for this show, it was important to me to find a woman to sing that song with that reminded me of my mom. And so the first person I thought of was Laura. And so when I reached out to her, I was like, hey, this is a long shot, but like I'm asking you this because not only like do I think that you are an incredible talent and I've admired you for years, but also because like I admire you as a human, as a mother. And I was able to see her and Marissa and Carrie's show. And Marissa and I got really close after working together on a reading about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now. And so being able to like watch her also then speak about her son and being a mother and like what that has been like. So I was able to reach out to her and be like, hey, like I'm sure that like you get these requests all the time, but like I hope that you know that like this is like I'm coming to you just because it's important to me that the people that are involved in this show are people that have qualities that my mother held and like you do. And like the way that you fight like hell for the people in your life that you love, the people that you don't even know that you impact. And I don't know by what grace of God that worked out, but I do remember being on the train and getting that email and being like, that was crazy. But it was really special. And I know the two of us connected too because she had lost a parent and so we were able to connect over that as well. And like you said, it was just so special, someone who has had a career path that is something that I have admired so deeply, and someone who is a mother, and someone who is also just like a genuinely great person who I have admired for so long. It's just like, it's very much kind of something we were talking about before we started recording, the like, shoot your shot and ask. You
Hmm.
never know.
And I think when you come at it with like, here are my genuine intentions, no pressure. This is just like, why? And I think
Yeah.
people get asked all the time so many things. And I always say, like, when you plant a million seeds, you don't know which is going to grow, but that's
Mm.
okay. And like with Laura Bell, it's like you got involved with her in so many other contexts, and like you didn't know that you were going to ask for something down the line, but like because you were genuinely interested in like fighting the same fight as her. And even now, like you mentioned her show with Marissa Jarrett Winokur and Carrie
Mhm.
Butler, like they started in Hairspray 20 plus years ago, and like having this show of the three of them is like such a celebration of like girlhood and just like friendship, and it feels like such like a perfect time for that to be happening. And I'm curious of other influences that you had growing up that you were like, these are people that I look to as like inspiration, because I know a big part of your platform is like being someone that like a younger generation can look to for like a very authentic perspective on the industry.
Oh my gosh. You know what's funny? I think a big reason why what I do is because I didn't see anyone.
Mm.
Like, um, it's because everyone that I did see, I wanted so badly to be like, because I just saw them as like perfect. And I was like, they have everything. Um, and I just wanted that so badly. And I still find to this day, especially now that my platform has grown, I find myself wanting to be that person.
Hmm.
And so it's harder for me now, knowing whose eyes are on it and how many eyes are on it, to be more vulnerable and transparent, um, just because of this industry that we're in. But I think that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, is because when I look back, I can't remember seeing a person in our industry that was like, oh, I want to be like them one day. Because the only people that I can think about that I was like, oh, I want to be like them one day, they were people who I feel like I didn't consider them to have any flaws, even though of course they did, but they didn't show them. Because we weren't in a time until very, very recently where that transparency and that vulnerability was something that was normalized online.
And it felt untouchable. And
Absolutely.
I know you go into this, you had a TED Talk, Confessions of a Recovering Theater Kid, and I know you talk a lot about like that vulnerability as a superpower. And I'm curious, like, does that still feel scary to you, or have you like adopted the mindset of like, why couldn't I be the successful one? And like that's where you root yourself in today.
It's terrifying. It
Hmm.
actually, I think it gets scarier the more my platform has grown. It's gotten even scarier and harder. I think it actually it's actually even scarier.
The stakes feel higher.
Yeah, the stakes feel much, much, much higher. It's something that I have to push myself to do. It's something that is, I think, a lot harder these days. But it's something that every time I do, the video always performs really well. And not that it's about that, but
Right.
I say that because it's like the video performs well in the sense that the response is always leaps and bounds higher than anything else that I post. And it reminds me that's what you used to do. Like I remember the first time I was really vulnerable and transparent in a really, really long time was that time that I posted that video being like, I had my ass handed to me this audition season and I'm tired.
Mhm.
I was so scared to post that, so scared. And reading the comments on that post the next morning, I was like crying. And it was like part of it was like relief. It was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that this is what I used to do and this is how this felt.
It also always feels like there's so much pressure to have your hand in a million pots at once.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, if you're someone that like wants to have theater as a priority and then also other things, like that also means that like you're burning your candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And for you, someone said to me recently, like you can tell what you're in your purpose for when you're like lighting up inside talking about it, but that can also change every day. And so
Yeah.
how are you navigating? Let me follow all of these passions, but also like let's not like run myself into the ground.
I really like that. That's a really good point. It's something that I'm really working on because honestly, I don't really know what the answer to that question is.
And I don't
And
either. And I don't think we're
yeah,
supposed to know yet.
yeah, I think something that I'm really pushing myself to do is I'm really trying to meet myself where I'm at every day. Because I tend to I think the thing that I kind of kick myself in the ass for is I get ahead of myself and I'm really bad at staying present. I think one of the big keys to that is staying present and in the moment because the way that I'll burn myself out is I'll be like, okay, but I have this and I didn't do this and I haven't done this yet and I haven't done this and I haven't done this.
Mhm.
Whereas all I have is right now, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And so I have no idea how to do that, but the only thing that I can do right now is be present exactly where I am right now.
And I feel like I treat life as like a checklist of like, okay, like I found a journal recently and it was like, go to one of these colleges, move to New York at 22, like all of these things. And I think, not that I've achieved all of my dreams, but it's like, okay, I never dreamt past the first few years post grad of like moving to New York and like working in entertainment. And I think now it's like, oh, now it's just a free fall. Because it's like there's no script, there's no nothing anymore. And something that Michelle Obama said recently is that there's a lot of life in the in between. And if you're only enjoying the big highs, and I'm like, she was first lady, like, yeah, her highs were a lot bigger than mine will ever be. If you're not enjoying like the interim time between, then you're losing the vast majority of your life. And it's so hard to reconcile being goal oriented, but also let me take this path for what it is in this moment.
Mhm.
And then it just leads to comparison because it's like, okay, someone else's high might be today, yours might be in 2 weeks. They're not at the same time, so it feels like you're comparing yourself to them, but it's just because everyone's stuff is happening in their own time.
Yeah. And I think it's hard. Post-grad is hard because it's the first time in our lives that we're not on the same timeline. Like
Hmm.
I love Mel Robbins, and she said something, I don't know if it was in one of her books or her podcast, and she was like, the reason why your 20s are hard is because it's the first time in your life where you're not all on the same timeline.
Hmm.
Like post-grad, like all of a sudden you're not all in the same grade, you're not all doing the same thing at the same time. You mentioned journaling, and I literally have mine right here. Like I try to like stay off my phone for that first hour of the day. I try to like journal because I find a lot of times like when I journal, I can't run from whatever I'm thinking.
Hmm.
Whatever I'm thinking and wherever I'm at, it's gonna come out. It's not always pretty. It's not always, and I try to like, I literally free journal. Like I
Hmm.
free think, and sometimes it's like it doesn't make any sense. And sometimes I literally journal like I don't feel like I have anything to write about. I don't want to keep writing this, but I force myself to write 3 pages every day.
Uh-huh.
Because evidently, wherever I'm at will come out.
So you said you're inspired on the train. Sometimes when I'm on the train, I like, well, since I have no service, this is probably not safe, but I'll close my eyes and I'll just like free flow, like type out everything that I'm thinking, but I don't look at it. Like, I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly, nothing. And then I don't read it. I just delete it. But like,
Oh,
it's really helpful, maybe probably safer in the safety of your own home, but I find it so therapeutic because it's like these thoughts don't need to have actions attached to them. They just need to get out of my brain.
yes, correct. That's exactly why I do that. I'm like, and I do it first thing in the morning for that reason.
Mhm.
I'm like, they just need to get out.
Right. And something I also think is so beautiful that you're really vulnerable about is like your body positivity journey. And I think that that's something that like pairs with fashion very well because growing up, especially, like you're handed these costumes, you're handed like these things that you have to wear. And the anticipation is so fun. Like I remember like, oh, when am I going to get my costume? What it's going to look like? You have no power in what you're wearing. And being on stage in that way, having a relationship with your body as like a young woman is so vulnerable. And I'm curious, has that been something that's like been in your life?
Yeah, something that I'm really cautious about and something that I'm very intentional about is, like a lot of my content I talk about my own recovery from an eating disorder and and kind of in tandem I think that especially in our industry, it's really, really important for me to also clarify that, like, yes, while like I'm in recovery from an eating disorder and I have my own thoughts in my relationship with my own body, at the end of the day, like, I will never be one to speak for like the body positivity movement and the body positivity community, if that makes sense. Just because like I have learned so much especially since really being vocal about it on the internet and meeting so many people in this community about really like one, what that movement means, who that movement was started for and by. And so, and like while I have my own thoughts about my own body and the way that it looks and the way that it is, this industry and the people around it will always view it as one certain way. And the way that my body is will afford me certain privileges and the way that I am listened to and acknowledged. You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of my content is focused on the mental health aspect of it and like how we fuel ourselves and how we take care of ourselves. So, when I see my peers and people around me who are championing that movement, the fortunate thing that I have been blessed with is a platform that
Mhm.
I can uplift that with, so I can repost and I can comment and I can favorite and I can boost. So, like, that's my responsibility as a creator. That is the privilege that I have been afforded. And so, that's something I always try to clarify, specifically when we talk about like recovery and body positivity and all those kind of things. Just because I think that, like, a lot of times we just don't totally like the lines are kind of blurred. We have good intentions about those kind of conversations, but I think it's really important to clarify, specifically within our industry and specifically within the recovery community, because I think a lot of the voices that are uplifted within the recovery community are almost always thin, white, cisgendered women. And that is not what the body positivity movement is for, if that makes sense. I can have my thoughts about my own body however I would like, and my journey with my body and accepting it as my own. But when it comes to costumes and being on stage, yeah, absolutely. I will say I'll never forget the experience that I had when I was in spelling bee.
Uh-huh.
We had the most incredible costume designer, and they asked me, they were like, just like meeting, and they were taking measurements. They were like, is there any colors that you don't love wearing? And I was like, no, like I'm pretty game for anything. And they were like, okay, is there any part of your body that you don't like aren't super comfortable with or that you don't love being like highlighted? And I was like, no one has ever asked me that.
Mhm.
I was like, no. I was like, I'm actually okay, but thank you for asking me that. I was like so taken aback. No one had ever asked me that. And it's funny, I always make vision boards for my characters. That's kind of like the work that I do that helps me a lot.
Totally.
I'm a very visual person, and when I made one for Olive, a lot of it had to do with like physically what she would have worn. It just happened to be that way.
Hmm.
And when I got my costume, I was like this is crazy. It happened to like cut, copy, paste, like hand embroidered overalls down to like a sunflower on it, rainbow butterfly clips. I even like when I was in the rehearsal space, they had asked me, they were like, is there anything specific you need with the costume? I was like,
Hmm.
no. And then I was like, wait a minute, yeah. Could I have long sleeves? I've been playing with my sleeves in rehearsal, and they were like, actually, in your rendering, you do have long sleeves because they're held over your hands. And I was like, okay, well, that's great because I've been doing that.
Wow.
Crazy.
Totally. And two things with that. One, it's funny that you said like that was your first experience with it because Jasmine Amy Rogers was talking about when the costume designer of Boop was creating her costume. And that was the first time that anyone had ever asked her that same question. And
Oh,
she
wow.
said, she was like, I've never felt more comfortable, more in my skin. And like the fact that someone would ask me that is wild. And that it took her until being on Broadway to be asked that question is crazy. And then I forget, I'm trying to think who it was, but someone was on Carrie Butler's podcast and they were saying like part of their process, they love painting. So they'll paint, oh, it was Finestraza from John Proctor.
Oh,
So
sick.
yeah, so she says that like part of her process, she goes to NYU for like art. And so she draws out her character in like watercolor, whatever, she'll paint them. And she painted out her character, I think it was for John Proctor, and it ended up being the exact costume almost. And it's like that's when you know the artistic vision is like in tandem. And like
Yeah.
how cool is that like visualization of like, oh, we're all speaking the same language.
Yeah, we're all on the same page here.
Hmm. That's such a cool way to know that like you're all tapped into like the same creative language. And in like your TED Talk and your 54 Below show, like I'm curious, who are your style influences, your holy trinity of let me see like what their vibe is and like pull that to make it Cara's.
Oh gosh. I love Audrey Hepburn.
Love.
I love a necklace, like kind of like what I'm wearing now.
Oh, I do a high neck as much as humanly possible.
Like I own so many high necks.
Yes.
Love it. I like love a even like very recently I feel like I've started to kind of tap more into my own style, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Totally.
Like I love an Audrey Hepburn. I love a kind of like mix. I always say like my style is very like Miss Honey chic.
Obsessed.
That's like you might understand this. It's like that weird post grad like okay, now I'm becoming an adult and I'm maturing, so my costume. Oh my God, my closet is transitioning. But like I'm still like young and youthful and I still want to play around because fashion should be fun. It
It's
should
not that serious.
no, it should be fun. And so I love Pinterest. I
Love.
also think it's like you have everything you need.
Mm,
And so I love to go to Pinterest and look through and see how people put pieces together. And I'll pin them because I'll be like, oh, I have all those things. Like, cool.
like living in New York is its own Pinterest board of like you're walking down the street and you're getting inspiration of, oh,
Yes.
I would have never put that together, but like I'm down with it.
Yes. And I also am such a fan of like, if I love something that someone is wearing, I will tell you.
Oh yeah. And you know what? It's
Always.
to make their day and like why not spread a little bit of that everywhere?
Yes. Always. Always.
Okay, so we have a few of like your past looks that I kind of want to just run through quickly. Any like behind the scenes, like why you picked this look, like anything you want to share.
Wait, I'm so pumped.
We're gonna start first with the big one, Tony
Oh my
Awards.
gosh. Oh my gosh. This was like the first, like, this is my first carpet, like my first, like, this was crazy. And I got this, like, Tony's were on Sunday. I got this on a Tuesday.
Insane.
I truly, honest to God, I had never worn a dress like this in my life. I went to the store called B&B Boutique because I like didn't understand clothing rentals were a thing yet, so I spent way too much money on it. I still have it.
But that feels like something you'll want in your possession forever.
You know what I want to do? One day I want to be able to separate it into two things. I want to make it a two piece. I want to like crop it and then I want to make the mermaid bottom like a two. I always say like that's what I want to do.
Or even like if you have a daughter one day, she can wear it to prom. Like
Oh.
it's perfect.
Yeah, I want to be able to like alter it one day and make it something. But I also want to be able to wear my mom's wedding earrings that day.
So
And they're pearls and that has tiny little pearl detailing on it. But I had no idea I was going to walk that carpet. I fully thought I was just going to be Eli's date. Like, I did not think I was going to walk the carpet. And they were like, okay, next. And I was like, what? Like, craziest night of my entire life. I loved it.
it looks like you were a plant. Like it looks like you knew that like the red carpet was gonna be like light blue and gold because that's not usually the colors.
Crazy. Also, this is so crazy because this dress, um, like, I had no idea. It was crazy. And the next day, I remember getting a text from my friend, and she was like, "Have you checked Vogue?" And I was like, "Why would I have checked Vogue?"
Right.
And I had made the Tony Award Best Dress list, and I was
Iconic.
like, "What the?" And no, nobody knew who I was. I had like maybe like 80,000 followers. Like nobody knew who I was. Like it was very much like, who is this child on the carpet?
Insane. Unreal.
It's so insane.
You know what? You gotta shoot big. You never know. Number two, Wicked Red
Oh,
Carpet.
oh my God, this is like okay, so this is the first time that like a brand, a really fancy brand had lent me a dress. This is a Nadine Marabi dress. And I truly had just signed with new management. And my friend Kobe from Theaterly was like, "Hey, do you want to interview on the Wicked carpet
And you
for
said,
New York?" And I was, "Yeah, is this guy blue?" Like, of course I do. Well, we didn't really know what that meant. Like, we didn't know if that would mean we were going to get one or two of them. We didn't realize that we were going to interview all of them. Like, we had no idea that we were going to interview every single person from that cast.
and that you were gonna choose violence and ask Smash or Glee.
Yeah, and we did not know that that was going to break the fucking internet. So, as we never do. And so I went into Nadine Marabi and literally just tried everything on. And this is kind of what we landed on. But it was
Upset.
like the first time like a fancy brand had like let me a dress. I was like, and then literally I took this dress, went to my shift at the restaurant with this dress in hand. My manager was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Nothing. There's an $800 dress in the staff closet." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "There's an $800 in the staff closet." Talk about like life is crazy.
No one knows what you're carrying on the A train. They really don't. Okay, next, your 54 Below show. Iconic jumpsuit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I knew I wanted to wear something like super powerful, and my mom's favorite color was purple. So I knew it had to be purple. And I knew that I like wanted to wear something that made me feel like mature,
Mhm.
powerful, and elegant. This, honest to God, I found it like months before, and it was like perfect. I knew it had to be purple. And once we found like a pantsuit, we were like, "Oh, this is it." Because we just wanted something that felt like nothing I had ever worn before, you know?
Totally.
And I got this literally on promgirl.com. Not kidding.
You know what? Gotta look in the more niche places because that's how you're not gonna be like every other girl.
Really.
Okay, your TED Talk, another pantsuit moment.
Yes, that I knew I also wanted to wear a suit. I knew I kind of wanted to wear like a vest pant look because I love the way like kind of we talked about like a vest neckline looks on me. It's one of my favorites. And truly, this was kind of an accident find. I was in Aritzia looking for I think a denim skirt, and I saw I think a girl wear this vest, and I was like, and you know how the Aritzia dressing rooms work, and I
No
was like,
mirror in the dressing room. Humble city. Everyone needs to
oh,
see everything you're trying on.
humble. And I was like, wait, do you guys, I was like, do you guys have like a suit version of this? And they did. And I had like no idea. I had no idea what I was going to wear for this TED Talk. I just knew I wanted it to be a suit. And we ended up finding it that day.
So good. So good. Okay. This one, okay, Miss Honeycore. This one just feels like very you and like very like in your element. For the
Yeah, this,
Matilda movie premiere, the Netflix movie?
I know it was, yeah. It was the Netflix movie. This is an altered state outfit. This is a fully altered state outfit.
Wow.
I know. And it's funny. I've loved these pants are so great because they've gone with like so many things. This top, I don't know if I've worn it since, but these pants I wear all the
That top is giving like statement moment, like really only
Oh,
out for certain occasion.
right. Like, what the hell am I gonna wear that for otherwise?
I mean, walking down the street, of course.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, last but not least, I just think this one is epic and just like so whimsical, so awesome, and just like everything.
You know, it's so funny. Talk about neckline. We were talking about this neckline. It's my favorite. It's actually, this is a rental dress, which is what I do for almost everything. I rent like literally everything because one, it's more cost effective and like it's like ethically it makes way more sense.
More sustainable.
It's way more sustainable. Also, as like, yes, I'm an influencer, but I'm a waiter. Like I fully am a waiter and an actor. But yeah, this is a rental from Newly. I'm a big Newly girl. I've been doing it for like 2 years. I also love Rent the Runway and Pickle, which is like now a thing in New York.
Yes.
I've done that a few times too, which is great. Um, but I've been using Newly for like 2 years straight now, and I really love it. So this is a Newly rental. When we were planning this photo shoot, I was like, oh my God, this will fit so perfectly with the space. But yeah, I love this dress. I wore it for this and I wore it for another event. So I think I rented this one twice.
It's so good. It's so like it's giving Glinda's bubble in every single
It
way.
is giving Linda. It is giving Linda.
Okay, amazing. And then I'm curious, when you're walking into an audition room, like, do you have outfits that make you feel most powerful?
I do. I have a couple of things that I will like always wear. So like I have like it depends on what it is. I have this one pair of jeans that I really love that are like I have like a low-rise bootcut jean that like when I'm going in for someone who's mature and like an adult, just because a lot of times like my resume reads really young, that makes me feel really confident and really powerful.
Hmm.
It's funny the way it is funny how like the way that we look really affects like how we perform in the sense of like how we feel about the way that we look. Like I get ready every single day, no matter what I'm doing. I'll put on a little bit of makeup and I'll do my hair because it motivates me to like feel good about what I'm doing. I don't do it for another person. I do it for me because it makes me feel like I'm about to do my best work.
Hmm.
When I am able to like walk into an audition room and feel like my best self, a lot of times it doesn't have to do with what I'm wearing because I feel like my closet represents who I am. But like when my hair and my makeup feel like me, if I feel like me walking into a room and I'm prepared, then I feel confident, if that makes sense. Because my confidence directly correlates to how prepared I am.
Right. And it's like when you're meeting someone as you, I even think about this as like in friendship too. It's like the minute that you start meeting everyone with your full self, you're actually going to be attracted to like the right people who are interested in the same things as you. And it's the same thing in an audition room. Like if they're seeing the full you, like then they're not making the wrong decision on like
Yep.
bringing you on because they've seen you and they know that that's what they're investing in.
Yep, exactly.
And then last question, but when you're in the audition room, what is like the signature stamp that you hope to leave them with? Like who Cara is?
Oh gosh. I hope I walk out of the room and that they think I'm really genuine. I hope that I leave the room and they're like, oh, I know who that girl is.
Mm,
No. Because like you can't control like if you're right for something. Something I always run into is like if I'm right for something, oftentimes depends on who I'm standing next to. Like how old do the people next to me read? Because like I look very young. So like if I'm going in for something where I have to like play someone who's in her late 20s, like even though I'm 26, if I'm next to someone who's in their mid 30s, I might look like their kid? And
mhm,
so like there's a million and 10 reasons why you might not be right for something. Like you might not be the right height. You might not be, have the right look. You might not be a local hire. Like there's so many different reasons. But I hope that like when I leave the room that they are like, "Oh, I liked her. I feel like I know her. Like that girl is genuine." So when I walk back in or when something else comes up, that like they remember me,
mhm.
not just what I did, but they like remember me, you know?
It's funny you say that. So I was listening to Megan Hilty recently on a podcast talk about how her big break coming out of Carnegie Mellon, like before she booked Wicked, was going to be the tour of Little Shop of Horrors. And she got cast waiting for her like final contract. And then they cast Anthony Rapp from Rent as Seymour. And they were like, you look like a child next to him. Like he's an adult man. Like, sister, sorry, but like you're out. And like that's so out of your control. You can be chosen and it still can be not the right moment. And I think when you're meeting the audition room with who you are, then they can place you in a million different places. Like it's not about the single audition that you're at. It's the fact that like you're being seen for you and then they can plug you in where you do fit.
Absolutely.
And putting
Ab-
yourself out there is the power.
Yeah. And they can only do that if you show up as you.
100%. Well,
Absolutely.
it was such a joy. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This was like so fun.